December the 6th, 2025. Guys, sometimes things happen to you. You just don't believe. But what you're looking at, we had a 7.0 earthquake. This is up around Yakutat. This is Alaska. And it's on the very top of the San Andreas fault line right here. Now, it's not offshore, so we're not looking at an offshore tsunami. But this morning, that's why I'm saying this is crazy for me to look and see this quake, because I was getting information together for a video about what's called Lituya Bay. And that was the highest tsunami, maybe the highest ever recorded. And it was right here in this area, and it was not offshore. It happened just inside one of these areas in Lituya Bay, and the water came up, and the wave that came over some of the islands was 1,700 feet high. Imagine that. Anyway, that was just south of here. We've got this 7.0. I don't have much other information on it, and you have other quakes along the area, but this red line right there is one of the most dangerous fault zones in the world. It goes right down through Cascadia. But just right down here, I'm going to pull this up, a little bay right here called Lituya Bay. Now, let me get it where you can see a little better. Not that long ago, I was 3 years old, 1958. Lituya Bay got hit by a quake. And what it did right here in this area, it caused massive landslides. And those landslides came into Lituya Bay, wiped out. There was a camp, like a trading camp and boats and stuff on this island right there, and cleaned the shores. It went up in Kiel Forest, very high up on the banks, guys. Again, you're dealing with 1,720-foot wave. Again, collapsed. Let me pull this up. Right here was the collapse zone. Megatons of debris went down into this area and basically blocked another stream that was coming through here. But the wave washed so high. Again, forest line is still in big trouble around that area. Let's take a look at it. But guys, with my hand on the Bible, I was studying this quake this morning. Then I turn on my computer, and I get an earthquake warning right here at it. So the most dangerous quakes and tsunamis, my point being, again, here's Lituya Bay, is that the quakes hit in this area. And the tsunami, it wiped out boats, it killed some people, it wiped out a lot of animals and things like that, but 1,720 foot is very high. It was in some places at 520 meters, things like that, guys, and it just hit so much of that side of that mountain collapsed. That's what we saw. The same danger lies in the fact of any of these quakes along this fault zone that has these high banks with glacier feeds and all of that. Now, this picture came from 1958 from the Pacific Coastal and Marine Science Center. And this is the bay. This island was fully covered. There were, again, animals all up through here, and all of this forest was inundated and just scraped bare. After that time, there was no trees on the islands here or anything. It was just bare rock, I guess. Over time, since 58, more and more things have come back. But guys, this thing, again, the largest tsunami ever. Now, if you look along this edge right there, it's kind of hard to see. You see this bare spot go up very high, because right over in here is where that collapse was. When it did, the water rose very quickly. This is 1,720 feet above the water line right there. Wiped everything out through that area. So again, the tsunami danger from the fault zones off of California, off Alaska, all of that area there, guys, is just as dangerous inshore. Now, I'd like to get some information, if I can. If anybody's in that area, let us know what you felt, or if there's any reports coming in. But it would be to the left of this, and right here, this is kind of caved in now, but it was like a long ford. It teed off right here. But again, this section of the mountains collapsed, and it pushed 1,700 feet of water out. Again, it kind of blows my mind that within hours of that, me looking at that information, this happens. But it says the 1958 Lituya Bay earthquake occurred on July 9, 1958 at 22:15 Pacific Standard Time with a moment or magnitude of 7.8 to 8.3 and a maximum Mercalli intensity of 6, which is extreme. The strike slip quake took place on the Fairweather Fault and triggered a rock slide of 30 million cubic meters, 40 million cubic yards, and about 90 million tons into the narrow inlet of Lituya Bay, Alaska. The impact was heard 50 miles away, and the sudden displacement of water resulted in a mega tsunami that washed out trees to a maximum elevation, guys, 524 meters, 1,719 feet at the entrance of Gilbert Inlet. This is the largest and most significant mega tsunami in modern times. It forced a reevaluation of large wave events and the recognition of impact events, rockfalls, and landslides, and how they cause these very large waves. That's exactly right, guys. And again, in my lifetime, this happened, the largest. So it's not like giant tsunamis happening 500-600 years ago or 1,000 years ago in this area. But again, that quake is almost in the exact same place that this 7.0 is, but it was a 7.8 to an 8.3, the way they could read it at that time. And when you drop 90 million tons into a narrow inlet, that's what happens. So that's as big a danger as something in the Cascadia Fault Zone offshore. But again, I wanted to just bring that up since I saw that quake hit, and I probably have a dozen pictures. I was going to do a video about that quake and the possibility of a quake happening inland in here, because you got so many high mountains that are laced with lakes in these bays. But again, guys, we're watching this. It's very interesting to me. I should have done a video on it this morning, but again, you never know. But for some reason, I was looking at it, the information popped up, and I started studying it. And let's just see if I've got any pictures here. Now, this is part of the south shore of Lituya Bay, showing the trim line with bare rock below it. The trim line means where the water and salt and everything else hit it and cleaned it. Again, at that time, the island you see in the middle of it was bare. There was no signs of the ranger stores and houses and all that there. Nothing. Boats were trying to get out. They didn't make it. And this gives you kind of a different view. It's almost like a LiDAR, but here again is the island that was covered by hundreds of feet of water. It was a giant. Imagine something that's higher than any of the buildings in New York. It was only 20 feet shorter than the World Trade Centers. That's a big wave. That's something you don't see. It looks like a movie. But notice this trim line here, 524 meters. See the dots? That's how far it raised, and it came over this hill here and wiped everything out. This is where the rock slide occurred. We were looking at it from the ocean view. Here's Lituya Glacier pulling in here. And this was more connected with just ice and the glacier before that event happened. Again, you can see the outline where the water actually rushed out into the Pacific Ocean at that point. And guys, when you have a sudden impact like this big rock slide right there, and the waves rise up real high, they create a vacuum behind them. In other words, the water's real shallow behind that wave, and so it just pushes that much harder. But again, I wanted to come in here and mention that just north of here is where we just had a 7.0 earthquake. You don't have to have one offshore in the Cascadia Fault Zone for it to be dangerous. This may be the highest recorded tsunami in the history of the planet. So you guys up in that area, watch it. If it happened then, it can happen. If it happened again, 58, we're talking about 67 years ago. That's not very long. And when we see the increasing solar flares, we see CERN cranking up, weakening the shields, more and more energy is released into our through our atmosphere into the surface of our planet. Again, guys, I thought it'd be interesting. And again, I'm kind of blown away that looking at the information and that this happens, it must be something was telling me something. I don't know. Anyway, guys, we're watching it. You watch it. I didn't see any tsunami warnings. Probably won't because it was inland. But you may have isolated incidents like this one. It's a heads up, guys. Be safe.